Welcome back, everybody, to another edition of our Vendetta Sports Media NBA previews. I'm Jerry Walker, and alongside me today is Jarrod Prosser, and we're talking about the Los Angeles Lakers, probably the second best team in LA this season. That's the first time anyone's had to say that in a long time. But after a rocky season last year, there's not great expectations, I don't think, for the Lakers. But what happened last season? Let's start with that.
Gee, in a word, a disaster of a season. 33 wins, fourth in the division, 11th in the conference, and first in laugh out loud moments. This team went all in. When you've got LeBron, this is what you have to do. You have to go all in. So they traded pretty much their entire support cast for Russell Westbrook and went with the big three look, as it's called. And it went about as well as everybody who isn't named Russell Westbrook, LeBron James, or Rob Pelinka thought it would. This team was just so unbalanced from the outset. There was not enough defense from the shooters. There was not enough shooting from the athletic types. LeBron and AD got injured. But those injuries only exacerbated the existing issues. They weren't the cause of the Lakers' bad season. They just made it worse. The injuries, as bad as they were not an excuse. There was a positive. Austin Reeves was a really nice find. He looks like he's going to have a long career as a supplementary player in the NBA, a role player. But that might be it. There's not a lot of positives to speak of from last season as a Laker.
Yeah, and I mean, they made a few off-season moves, but what are the ones that stand out to you?
Well, I mean, they have certainly made some changes. Patrick Beverly comes in from the Jazz for Talen Horton-Tucker and Stanley Johnson. He is literally, though, the only two-way player they've got. He's a nice shooter, can get to the rim a little bit, even though he's getting old, and he's, of course, a famously dogged defender. But you look at the rest of the players they've brought in, there's talent there. Lonnie Walker has shown flashes as a shooter and a scorer, and he's athletic enough to be a defender, but it's all flashes. Thomas Bryant, nice stretch big, can rebound a bit. Damian Jones, good solid work-a-day center. Troy Brown, he's shown little flashes of being a decent two-way guard. Juan Toscano Anderson, like heady baller, very smart baller, but, can't shoot a lick. Max Christie might be decent, but he's a second-round pick, so, take what you can get out of that. And I've put Scottie Pippen Jr. here as a key pickup, but it's more on name value only. I don't expect that he'll stick around for too long. I mentioned Talen Horton-Tucker's gone, Stanley Johnson's gone. Malik Monk and Kent Bazemore have both gone to the Kings, and the Warriors picked up Mac McClung, who I don't think is going to make a difference to either the Lakers or the Warriors, but I just love saying Mac McClung. That's just a wonderful name.
Yeah, he was such a fun player to watch in high school and at Georgetown. He was making highlight reels every single day. It's just an entertaining guy, an entertaining name.
I got to admit, the game is secondary to me. Mac McClung is, like, I could say it all day. Mac McClung. It's just a brilliant name.
Oh yeah, just
Hall of Fame name.
Flows off the tongue.
It honestly sounds like he sounds like he's a 1920s baseball player. Like if you said the old time Chicago White Sox second baseman Mac McClung, you go, okay, yeah, no worries.
McClung. But sticking with the Lakers' current roster, there's been some tension in the past between Patrick Beverly and Russell Westbrook. How do you think that addition of Patrick Beverly to the Lakers, where as of now they still have Russell Westbrook, how do you think that's all going to work out?
Oh my! I mean, look, they're playing nice for the moment. So let's take that on face value that the past is the past, and they're both competitive beasts. And now that they're on the same time, they'll pull their forces for good. But at the same time, Pat Bevs has already come out and said that if he was a Laker last season, they would have made the playoffs. So he's already throwing teammates under the bus just by being Patrick Beverly. So there is every chance that Westbrook headbutts him on the court on national television before Christmas. And I don't think there's a grey area here. It's either going to be absolute, fluffy bunnies and puppy dogs and roses, or there's going to be a fist fight and it's going to be national news. I don't think there's an in-between.
No, I 100% agree with you there. They'll either become the best of friends or they'll be putting boxing gloves on and going into the ring at practice one day.
I don't even think they'll bother with the gloves. So they'll go old
bare
style,
knuckle
just bare
then.
knuckle.
Yeah, go for it.
Yeah.
And I mean, moving on to the next one, I guess. What in the past you would say LeBron is by far the key player for any team that he's on, but now 36 years old, is that still the case, or is there someone else on the Lakers that you think is that key player for them?
Yeah, I still think he's the key player. He's been in, quote unquote, an ageless wonder for so long, though it has to be said, injuries are starting to catch up. Father time is starting to catch up. It turns out playing professional sport for 50% of your life has its pitfalls.
I thought that.
Yeah, I know. But you just look at his stats from last season, and the counting numbers were just insane. Like 30 points, 8 boards, 6 assists, still averages over a steal and a block per game. His shooting splits, looking here, 52, 36, 76 shooting splits. 90% of the league would be really, really happy with those splits on the volume that he shoots. Now, he doesn't get to the rim as often, but he can still pick his moments to explode, to detonate at the hoop. Likewise on defense, he's not the lockdown player that he was. He's not the chase down block artist and all that sort of stuff. But he can still lock down anyone. He can still make the right play in limited situations. So if you get into a late game situation, LeBron is still, if not the player you want in a late game situation, he's on the short list. And that is even as he goes into year 19 or whatever it is now. So I would still say he's the key player. But the fact that he is at this age is partly kudos to him, but partly an indictment on the Lakers that they haven't found somebody to supplement him properly yet.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, the Lakers don't really have a backup small forward to fill in, and they thought bringing AD in wouldn't necessarily make him a backup for LeBron, but they would have thought that it would have taken a bit of the load off of LeBron's shoulders.
But that was the idea, that he would eventually supersede LeBron as the superstar, and it just doesn't work.
No, it really doesn't. But he could be another X Factor player to an extent. But are there other players you think are the X Factors, or other situations or scenarios that you think this is going to make or break the Lakers season?
Yeah, look, I mean, the obvious answer is Westbrook, but I think he is the opposite of an X factor. Westbrook, his style of play doesn't mesh with LeBron and AD. His style of play might not be conducive to winning as he ages, but you at least know what you're going to get from Westbrook. He's going to turn up every night, and he's going to give you a similar stat line with similar methodology. So to me, that consistency, and even Jeannie Buss came out and said he was the most consistent Laker last season. That consistency excludes him from the X factor conversation for me. I think it is AD. When healthy, he's still a defensive monster and an excellent complementary scorer. His shooting has fallen off a cliff in the last few years, since the bubble, essentially. But he's still a dominating player on the mid-block. He can still play make from the elbow. And I think the Thomas Bryant signing will help him quite a bit as well. Bryant, big body, 6'11", 7 foot tall. He can handle a lot of those. As much as he's not a great defender, he can at least body up bigger players down low. And his shooting means that he can draw a defender away from the rim, which allows AD to use his speed advantage on other bigs. So I think the Bryant signing will help him. The issue as it always is for AD's injuries. Now, if availability is the best if availability is the best ability, then AD is a liability. He's been in the league for 10 years. He's topped 70 games twice. Now, it was 2017 and 18. We're talking, half a generation ago as a player goes. He's played 76 games over the last 2 seasons. Like, he's just never on the floor. And it doesn't matter how good a matchup you are. If you're sitting in designer clothing on the bench, you're not helping your team. So ultimately, I think Jones and Bryant are good fill-in options to rest AD, to give him more time off, to maybe limit his minutes. And as I said, Bryant, I think, will complement him quite well. But neither ultimately are the talents that can hold a candle to AD. the Lakers are sunk if Anthony Davis doesn't hit 55 games, minimum 55 games.
Yeah, and do you think if maybe he doesn't hit that mark, are we going to see some trades being made as LeBron, the GM of the year, as he's named at times? Will there be moves made if the Lakers come out of the blocks just struggling? Or it doesn't really seem like they have the pieces really to trade away.
No, well, they've only got those 2 first-round picks that they seem hell-bent on keeping. And ultimately, if they're going to trade those, it's going to be to get rid of Westbrook. It's this trade to Indiana for Hield and Turner has been spoken about quite a bit, and that will change the Lakers' outlook. If that happens, suddenly you've got one of the very best shooters walking on planet Earth in Buddy Hield, and you've got a genuine rim-protecting, stretchy center in Turner. That opens up so much potential for this Lakers side if healthy. So transitioning it into what I think will happen this season, it is a tough one because there is a lot of talent there, but there's so much uncertainty around the roster fit as the roster's constructed. But going into what you're saying with the trade, we don't know who's going to be on this team at the trade deadline. The Lakers can't sit there and get another, 35-win season. That would be disastrous. So if they're languishing in mid-January, expect that there will be a trade, whether it's Westbrook or the supporting cast. I don't think it'll be AD, and it certainly won't be LeBron. So it'll be Westbrook or some of the supporting cast. But there's just so much uncertainty with this Lakers team. The range here, the difference is cavernous. If the Lakers do make that trade and they can stay healthy, huge if, we might be looking at a 50-win team, 50-plus wins. But if they make no major roster reconstruction moves and health is once again a problem, 35 wins might be right. There's just a huge range of what can go here. If you put my head on the block and say, give me a number, I'm going to split the difference a little bit and say 42 wins.
Okay.
I think they scrape into the 8th seed and make it through the play-in. And I think they'll go down in the first round to whoever they play, but they will give them an almighty scare.
Yeah, that's not a team that you want to see in the first round. Anytime you see LeBron in the playoffs, even if he doesn't have AD, but especially with AD, if he stays healthy, it's just a scary thing to think of.
Yeah, you don't want a part of that. A number 1 seed has got everything to lose to a series with LeBron James. I mean, that'd be a horrible situation to be in.
Absolutely.
Ultimately, I don't think the talent's there, but I think that they can give a number 1 seed an almighty scare.
Oh, yeah. So you've heard it here, of 8th seed playoff berth for the LA Lakers. It'll be an improvement on last season, according to Jarrod. You can check out anything he's done and tweet at us. Tweet at him at hey_it's_JP. Tweet at me. I'm Jerry Walker at JerryF007. Let us know your thoughts on the Lakers or any other teams that you've seen us go and preview for this season, as we've been doing a whole series covering all 30 teams on our Vendetta Sports Media YouTube channel. So subscribe there, check it out. Let us know your thoughts. Have a good one. Once again, I'm Jerry Walker. Joining me was Jarrod Prosser. Have a good one, guys. We'll see you next time.